Welcome to She Loves the Grid, where we discuss all things F1. Whether it's happening on the track, in the paddock, or beyond the grid, we'll talk about it all.
All right, here we are, another off week. I feel like it's been forever since we've had a race.
That's because it has been. It's been 5,237 days since we had a race. That's how it feels to me.
I feel like I should be singing like from one of the musicals, you know? Oh my gosh, it's killing me. It's killing me.
And you could tell even online that everybody is just over it. You know, like people like us, content creators and stuff, we don't really have much to talk about. It's so quiet in F1 right now. So yeah, you can just tell we're all stretching.
I mean, I've reverted to building Legos. I mean, Lego cars.
Yay.
I mean, I've had to, you know, what else am I gonna do?
Show us your cars.
Okay, I just popped one of the Legos off. Of course, I got to do with my Aston Martins.
Oh, of course you did the Aston Martin. And also, if you're just listening to us, if you go to our YouTube page, you can see the video and see the cars that Claire has made. Because as we established before, she's our Lego queen.
Yes, I now have 36,770 pieces based on sets, but it's actually more because the trip that I just made back to the US, because now I'm back in Germany, I got more books to add in more sets, and I've got a few more sets to catalog, and that doesn't count my spare pieces because I probably have over 40,000 pieces. And the new set, the McLaren F1 car, which I have a feeling I'll have mine done before you have yours done. Came in today.
I think that is a pretty accurate statement since we've had that McLaren Lego set since January. But then when I broke my hand, I couldn't really do it. And so we just need to get it back out again. But I have no doubt you will have it completed way before we do. Or we can virtually do it together once you get to package number 2.
Yeah, I'm a little obsessive. Once I start,
it just goes.
I put together 2 fairly good sized sets Thursday and Friday night. And then, talking about the weekend and the week, got home from the US, got sick, spent the weekend in bed, and finished these on Sunday in bed. So I'm obsessive. So how was your week? My week was travel back from the US, discover my body has adjusted to the clean food in the Europe, and did not bode well with the US trip. And then I got sick over the weekend, but now I'm better. And how was yours?
I'm so glad you're better. It actually made me really sad when you were like, oh, I don't feel good. Like, it's so sad. Mine was good. I went to Colorado to see my daughter for a few days. We had so much fun eating and shopping. I was buying some stuff to take to Barcelona when we go, in Berlin. And she bought us tickets to a comedy show on Saturday night, and hysterical. Lydia Popovich, I think was her name. She is so freaking funny. My face, I have not laughed that hard in so long, and my face just hurt from laughing. She was amazing. So also that night when we got back, on TikTok, there's been this thing going on where people have their friends who don't know anything about F1 rate the drivers kind of on their looks, which I don't know if that's appropriate or not, but it's really funny. And so I had Anya do it. And I sent you the link or just the video of her with Lance Stroll, but it actually ended up being 3 parts because we talk so much throughout the videos. So I will get those up, but it was really, really fun. And I thought for sure I knew who she would rate the highest, and I was so wrong. Like,
no. I can't wait to see them all.
I know you have to watch them because I do tell her in the video, I thought you would have rated this driver as your highest, and nope, I was totally off.
I can't wait to see, because I have a feeling who I think she would rate the highest, but
who do you think?
Interesting.
Wait, tell me who you think.
You know, I would think it would be somewhere either like Lance or George. Or maybe even I don't know. Now I'm gonna think about that.
Maybe
even Nick. Maybe even Nick.
Oh, Nick DeVries. Nope. Like
No?
I will get those
Oh,
posted. I
I
want to
can't
go
wait.
through the whole thing because it is comedy gold, if I say so myself.
She
And
she's such a great young woman though. So
she
you know, what
is.
you would think at the same time, she's got such a great head on her shoulders. So I'm sure it surprises us.
Yeah, it 1,000,000%. There's one common theme, I think, amongst some of the people that she rated very high, and it kind of threw me off a little bit. So I was like, okay. So I'll post those and we can discuss again next week because it'll finally be race week, but nothing really important to talk about. But anyways, as I was saying, it was super quiet, like in F1. So it was kind of good that you were just traveling back and not feeling great, and I was traveling. There's not a whole lot like really to talk about except a few little things. Well, it'll be a big thing for me, but Carlos will finally get his day in the steward's office or with the FIA, or, you know, I want to say his day in court, but it's not.
It'll be interesting though. I mean, depending on how that comes out, right? And I don't know. It'll be interesting because it's got such a huge impact to so many teams if a ruling happens that changes the outcome of the race, and then that sets precedents of
Yep.
future races. However, I would hope that if a change is made, that puts more onus on the stewards to do better during the race, right? To do
Yeah.
better of the decisions there, addressing it more quickly, and maybe a really look at how things were assessed, you know, more fairly and more quickly. Because I mean, we saw
Yeah.
that even in the previous race with, you know, the change of positions. You know, Alonso was out, and Alonso was back. I mean,
Yep.
come on,
I was literally just thinking that because you've only really seen 3 full races, and already in those races, like you just said, I mean, you've seen this, the penalties don't seem to be applied the same. The Alonso issue with the podium. So yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I hope that they do. My hope is that Carlos like gets justice. Like that is you know, free Carlos, take away the penalty. At the same time, I just don't have a lot of faith in the stewards and the FIA to do the right thing and take away that penalty, because like you said, it will affect so many other teams and drivers as far as points go and the whole 9 yards. And I don't think they have the balls to do that. I don't think that they would want to deal with all the other teams coming at them and saying, well, okay, maybe that was the right thing to do for Carlos, but what about us? Then they're going to have everybody else wanting to be in that office. So I don't know. I have high hopes, and I hope when I wake up in the morning, I see, because today we're doing this on Monday. We usually do it on Sunday. Tuesday is the day he gets his day. I hope I wake up and I see good news, but I think it's not going to change.
Yeah, it's interesting. This has got to be, I mean, and I could be speaking completely out of turn here, but this is going to be one of the most technically covered, monitored sports I've seen, at least that I follow. So if you look at the number of cameras, the number of monitors, the technology that watches the race, there's cameras at every corner and every angle in the cars that are live. There's really no excuse that they can't make these decisions and judgments more quickly.
I agree.
And keep things more fair, right? You know, the
consistency is an issue. And I think that's where so many people are getting kind of tired of it. And we've talked about this on some of our other podcasts where things just don't seem to be consistent race to race, year to year,
driver to driver,
all of those things.
And let's not do it just because there's drama. And you know, I was watching I think I sent you the video too, but I was watching just an old an older thing from one of the late night shows in the US, and they were talking to Danny Rick, and it's like, why is F1 becoming more famous in the US, more popular in the US? And maybe it's because of the Netflix show. No, let's not do it to artificially inflate the popularity and whatnot. Let F1 become more popular on its own. And don't do it just because of the cash. But that's like you're muddying it, right? And
Right.
I know you're getting more income and you're getting more fans and whatnot, but you're going to lose fans
Yep.
and lose sponsors and lose, evil doesn't help. Like the
Right.
bad is going to outweigh the good if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And there's speculation that some of it is just adding drama. And even if that's not the case, speculation sometimes outweighs the truth.
Right. Yeah, especially in social media, if that starts gaining traction, then people take it and they run with it because it suits a narrative.
Exactly.
But the other side is like, if this isn't for drama, then what are you doing? Like, I think you need to clean house and get some people in that know the rules, that can be consistent. Or if there is a lot of gray area, then all of that needs to be very transparent. This is why so-and-so got a penalty and this one didn't. Instead of everybody from F1 commentators to, podcasts like ours, we're just speculating on, why did Carlos get this, but, these other people didn't. So it's so frustrating. So hopefully they'll get it together. But as far as Carlos goes tomorrow, I hope they do the right thing, but I just feel like they're not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. But, hopefully he's moved on a little bit. I don't know. That would be a tough one. I think that would stick with me for a while personally.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have? Red Bull.
Red Bull. So Adrian Newey, we talked about him last podcast. I would say he's arguably one of the greatest F1 car designers out there. And we mentioned that his contract is coming up, but earlier or late, it's already early. When you go on vacation, you totally lose track of what day it is. But late last week, Christian Horner came out and said that, Adrian Newey's heart is still very much in F1, and he's going to be with us for many years to come, I think was the quote, many years to come. So I have questions. Awesome for him. It does sound like he may not only be doing F1, he's doing other stuff with Red Bull. So somehow he's getting involved in the America's Cup competition. That's yachting or sailing, not yachting, sailing competition. So I'm kind of curious actually what he's doing with that, because, designing something somehow. But
I thought it was interesting that Christian Horner came out and said that, but have we seen Adrian Newey come out and confirm that?
I don't know, but I don't know if he would, to tell you the truth. I think he, for the most part, he's not, doesn't seem to be a vocal person. I think he would allow Red Bull to kind of, and Christian Horner's the CEO. So he knows, he knows what's going on.
Yeah,
so
we saw that last year, and one of the teams announced that, I forget who it was, about being there, and then the driver came back and said, I haven't signed anything. And Oscar,
yeah. I think Christian's hopefully a little bit smarter than that. But I just have to say, on behalf of your favorite team, like Papa Stroll, where is the money? Like with that brand new facility that they're building, I think it's almost complete. I've seen so many videos of it lately on their social media. So I think it's almost complete, but like, you got this big shiny, you're building a wind tunnel that's not gonna be ready till next year, but like, where's the money? Like, can't bring him over? Maybe not.
I wonder if they could, or if he's got some kind of exclusivity that's locked him in or something.
Maybe. Or he just likes Red Bull. If he can take on other projects and like stretch himself, in careers, we all want to grow, right? We all want to try new things. And so if he can stretch himself and do like this hypercar, I'm not even sure what that is. And then the America's Cup, totally different thing with sailing. Like that's kind of opportunity.
It'll be interesting. Isn't Red Bull the one that has Ford joining them soon? And I wonder how that I wonder if that would change up things.
That could be
interesting. Once Ford, or would there be some consternation or some issues once Ford joins, because Ford could cause some problems. So it'll be interesting how that plays out once Ford joins the mix.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, but Christian thinks he's got him locked down. So there you go.
Speaking of my guy and
Yeah.
Alonso, I know we have some notes that like he still thinks it's possible, and I jumped on that because it was funny that I saw a meme, haven't checked it out, haven't run the numbers because sick, but I jumped at it as thinking there was a meme I saw that if Max and Checo were to both DNF at Baku, that Alonso would be in first. Which
I mean, and
could we like
it's
cross
another
all our
street
fingers and
circuit.
toes and
I would love to see Fernando win another one. And it's a street circuit. And it's one of those where it's like those street circuits like make me so nervous when they hit those curves and it's like their cars are like this close to the wall. And so, I mean, you never know. Anything is possible. But I mean, even Max was saying like he wants to see Checo get another win. Checo, oh my gosh. Max probably doesn't want to see Checo get another win. Like, let me just back that up real quick. He wants to see Alonso get another win. And he said, I guess in their press conference at Melbourne, like, I don't want him to see him just get his 33rd win. Like, I want to see him get many more. So,
yeah.
I mean, Max is even rooting for him. So
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool. So, and then the next one is next one's a sprint, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So next week we'll be talking about sprints.
And I wonder how well he does in sprints. I'm going to have to look into that.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know because last year, I don't know. I mean, we only had 3 this year. We have 6. So
let's do some research.
Yeah. Get on that. No.
Get on that.
Get on that. But even Fernando is saying like, this has been such a great season already. And he just is so excited about the possibility for more wins. He wants to keep going. And he was talking about how in Spain, it's really like got people hyped again for F1. And he thinks like in Barcelona, that energy is just going to be, I know. I was like,
I know if we're going to be in Barcelona, he could win in Barcelona. That would just be ideal. Oh,
what if
right?
he won in Barcelona while we were there? You would lose your mind.
I would lose my mind. And, oh my gosh, I have found F1 sneakers that I'm gonna have to buy. I found like, oh my gosh,
I love that. Especially if he won, I would go buy a shirt straight away. I'd run right to the Aston Martin.
And I'm gonna be torn between wearing She Loves the Grid merch and Alonso merch. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a combo. I feel like I have like a half and half shirt or something. I don't know.
Oh, like the moms do in the NFL where they like it sews right down the middle. You could have Alonso on one side and She Loves the Grid on the other.
I'm excited. But I love to hear. I love seeing how positive he is, and it just gets back in my head that quote he said about I'm the bad boy of F1. Like you're not the bad guy. He's so positive.
He's the bad guy that everybody's rooting for. So he had also mentioned, so I don't think you've come across this yet, but like 3 years ago, there was this thing online. People started with L Plan. And it was, I never really got into the whole thing, but L Plan was like the rise again of Fernando, right? And now here he is. And so he's rising up and now like 33 is everywhere because, you know, everybody wants him to get his 33rd win. So L Plan was apparently a thing. It worked.
I just love it because, you know, there's just so much, I don't know, it was irritating me that one race where the commentators were just so on like his age compared to someone else, and it's like there's something to said about, you know, wisdom and experience. And you know that I tell people all the time, like, here's my age, but I don't look at or act it, and age is just a number, you know, and you it's all a mindset. And I love that he doesn't let that affect him. He just goes out there, he's fit, he does his thing, and he's both physically and mentally in it, you know. And
I think that's just it, the mental part of it. And I think we've talked about it 2 out of the last 3 races because he's been on his radio during the race. Like he is so aware of what's happening, even though he's driving the car and even after he's been hit, like he's so aware because of that experience. And,
Hmm.
it's very second nature to him. So it makes a huge difference. Age is it's not a bad thing at
No,
all.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I can't wait. Barcelona is going to be a blast.
I can't wait. And speaking of Barcelona, I see you get to hear the F1 Academy started
Yes.
testing this week. I saw a lot of stuff coming up, but I kept having to look. I'm like, what's going on in Barcelona? I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not time for our tickets yet.
Yeah. So, yep, the F1 Academy, if you aren't aware, is the female version of F1. And they're really just starting off their year now. So they were out at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona doing their testing. So taking their cars out, getting a feel for everything. So I found it so exciting. I've got to start getting more into like who are the drivers, because each team has 3 drivers, not just 2 like in the male version of F1. So I really want to start getting into that a little bit more. And we are going to cover it on social media. I think exposure for women's sports, I'm a huge advocate for that. It's major, it's important. So we will be covering it. If there's because I think their first race is the same weekend as Baku. So
Okay.
that's a lot of stuff to keep up with. So we're going to do our best. But we are going to cover it. If you're interested in that, if you're really passionately not interested in it, well, I'm going to post some anyways, but maybe we won't post as much initially. But I do think it's important. So if you have a very strong opinion about that, I guess send us a DM and let us know. But that is going to be happening next week too. So we've waited 3 weeks, and the next week we're going to be inundated with F1 and F1 Academy. 2 different tracks.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. Time for the meat of this, and we picked back up from our good basics from last week, part 2 of F1 Terms and Acronyms. I love this because it's all about education, and we want to kind of separates us from a lot of other podcasts and really help educate everyone, which I love because me being new to the sport, it just helps me. I mean, I know one of these we're going to cover is one of the first things I asked you about. It's like, what is DRS? I know that's in our list. It's not the first one, but it's like it's so helpful to get to this, because the more you understand, you can, you're not just sitting there going, oh yeah, okay.
Right.
You get the strategy.
Exactly. Or when they talk about it, if you're watching, whatever you're watching on ESPN, Sky Sports, F1 TV, these terms do come up. And sometimes, like, especially Sam Collins, I love him on F1 TV, and he explains everything, like breaks it down really well, but they can't do that every race or every time they're on the air. So it always helps for us to we'll keep kind of bringing these terms up. And if it happens to come up in our conversation, we'll try to hit on it just briefly what it is. So if you didn't hear a previous podcast episode, you'll still know what it is. So,
and when we launch our website, we are going to make reference to all of this on our website too.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. So then you could just go to the website and check it out.
And that's coming soon.
Yes, coming soon. So the first thing is dirty air. And that is really just when air is spinning off the back of the car in front of you, and it's basically reducing the airflow over the car behind. And so it's giving it a performance disadvantage by reducing the downforce. So downforce, very important in F1. So a lot of times, like for Max, I'm just going to say for Max, because he's often the one out in front, he doesn't run into these issues where other cars, this air is coming back. And if you remember, one of our very first grid basics, I think we talked about FlowViz. And it's the green stuff when they're testing the car that they put on to kind of see how is the air coming over the car, because we need the aerodynamics to be just right. We don't want them going in weird areas where it's going to create a problem with the downforce. And so I kind of envisioned like the air coming off the car in front of them. And, it could be causing a lot of issues overall with the downforce.
And I kind of liken this to if you're on the highway and you get behind like an 18 wheeler, right?
Mhm.
And when that air, when you're not, when you're in front of it, everything's flowing really nicely, right? But when you get behind 18 wheeler, there's a spot that you get and you get buffeted and knocked all around, right? That's
Yeah.
when you're not operating very well either. So I can imagine it's kind of similar, probably not the exact same thing,
No,
but when the air is flowing, it's coming in a different way and it's spinning differently off that car. And that's going to knock you around, and it's not letting the car get that optimal flow that it's expecting to get that force. Because, like you said, if they've got the car getting forced in a certain way with nothing in front of it, now you can't have it both ways. You can't have it, oh, in front of it nothing, and then something in front of it with different kinds of vortices coming off of another car, or
right.
even two cars, or three, depending on what's all in front of it.
Yep,
So that makes sense.
exactly. No, I think you explained that perfectly. Maybe you should probably do these because this is the thing with Claire. She is very good at breaking down, concepts. And for years, decades, she's broken things down and taught me stuff about computers and the whole 9 yards. She's very, very good at that. So I think you explained that perfectly. And obviously, like you said, when you're the leader of the race, you're not dealing with that. So you have optimal aerodynamics, like you have optimal downforce. You can go and do your thing. Or if I'm assuming if you're like 15, 20 seconds behind another car, you're not running into that either. You've got clean air that you're running in, and so you have optimal performance in those situations. So yeah, so there you go. There's
The next one is that DRS. I remember contacting you and going, "What is DRS? They keep saying DRS. What do they mean by
yeah.
DRS?" And I see that little flappy thing open up. Does that have something to do with DRS? So I'm
Yeah,
going to show you the flappy thing on my little car. I've got a
yeah,
visual aid,
I
and we
love
have a
visual aid.
picture. Then we have pictures. This isn't actually a Formula One car, but it's got the little wing. So I'm gonna kind of visually do it, and I'm gonna show you a picture. So the DRS is when the the tail fin in the back is going along, and this little piece up here kind of pops open. It goes boop, and you'll see like an opening show up, right?
Yep,
And then it closes. So
exactly.
we've got a picture. So I'll show you. So this is on Aston Martin, but I'll show you on Diane's favorite.
And definitely, this is a good one to watch us on YouTube because we are showing you a picture right now.
Yep.
There's a lot of visual aids today, so definitely
Yeah.
watch us on YouTube.
So this is the DRS open. See the little flats open versus down. So kind of
Yep,
same thing. Yeah.
exactly. So they started using that in 2011 in F1, and I guess apparently because of like the issue with that dirty air, so they introduced this. DRS stands for the drag reduction system, and basically, like Claire said, it's that flap when it's lifted, it reduces the drag on the car. So it makes it go faster and it helps the driver overtake who's ever in front of them. So this could only happen like there's certain DRS zones. So if you follow us on social media when it's race week, I usually will post like here's an outline of the track and I will always say this is how many DRS zones are on this track. Generally, it's like 3, I think, for the most part. Last race, they had Australia had added a 4th one this year, but it's usually like 2 to 3. And so you can only open during those areas. And there is a whole thing about like there's a detection point where one car will go through. You need to be less than 1 second behind the car in front of you, and you have to be in the DRS area in order to use that. And it will help you speed up. And that's where you see a lot of overtaking generally. Now, there's other rules where you cannot use DRS. I think it's in the first lap. It's 1 or 3 laps. I should have looked this up of the race. You can't use DRS. And once the safety car, if there's been a safety car, there's a certain amount of laps. Like it's 1 or 3. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it's 1 or 3. And so until you get those laps in, you can't use your DRS. So
Now is this something, because like I said earlier, everything's so highly monitored and very technically controlled. Now, is this something that all the onboard computers and whatnot also control, that they can't accidentally do it so you couldn't cheat, or do you know, is this something we can follow up on?
I don't know, but I feel like it is something, just because there was one race where Max's wouldn't open. And I can't remember if it was like a qualifying or if it was in the actual race. I think it was a qualifying. And it wasn't opening for him. So I don't know. I think actually there's a button that they do it. But I don't know if you get in trouble if like you do it accidentally. But I mean, these guys are pros. They know where that button is and when to use it, not to use it. And I'm sure the
I
engineers
just looked it up.
tell me.
Here, electronic timing loops in the track surface measure the distance between two cars. If the following car is measured at running less than 1 second behind, a signal is sent to the car allowing its DRS to be activated in the
Okay.
ensuing zone. So there
They
is
did.
something that allows, that it's an allowing thing. So that's kind of
Okay.
cool. It
Very
is. It
cool.
looks like it can be it is driver adjustable, but there is some type that allows it. There's some part of allowance. That's kind of cool.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, because as I was talking and I was like, I don't know who does it. No, I remember seeing someplace that there's a button on the back of their steering wheel. So
I'm
there you
looking forward to the episode where we go over the steering wheel, because
I
that
know.
is
Then we'll
like
point it out. We'll be like, here's
so
that
much.
button. That will be a great one. So anyways,
Yeah.
that's basically DRS in a
Yeah.
nutshell, but
And
it is
I
a
found
very
the others.
important
It's
part of the race.
2 laps. So the pursuing car is 1 second. The following car is in a DRS zone as predetermined by FIA. The DRS system may not be deployed until 2 racing laps have been completed after the Grand Prix, a restart, or a safety car period. It cannot be used by a driver in front to defend their position unless they are within 1 second of the car in front of them. And it may not be enabled if the race director deems racing conditions are unsafe, such as being held in the rain.
Okay. Which makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah. So there are definitely times you can't use it, but they do want to use that, especially if they're, having a difficult time getting past somebody. Because sometimes people are great at defending on some of these corners. And so when you get that opportunity, you want to take it if you can. And it's made for some really good racing back and forth.
Yeah, it does. It does. I love seeing that.
Yeah.
All right. Power unit.
Yeah. So the power unit, that's something we hear a lot about, especially when we generally talk about people getting grid penalties, is because they've had something they needed to replace on their power unit or replacing their power unit. So they don't have engines like they used to back in the day. So now they have power units, and I'm going to read a lot of this because I think it's a lot of stuff that there's no way I can memorize all of this stuff. So the power unit comprises 6 elements: the internal combustion engine, the turbocharger, the motor generator unit heat, and then motor generator unit kinetic, right? Kinetic, the energy store, and the control electronics. So all of those combine to give like the drivers what they need to win a race. There you go. It's a lot of different parts. So you may not be replacing an entire power unit. I think you can replace different parts of that, but yeah, that's what a power unit is. They don't have traditional engines like, maybe you would normally think of. It's much more high tech now. And also in, kind of with F1 getting to their sustainability part of things, like that's where you kind of see there's going to be obviously more electronic. Is that the right word? Electronic. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. And it's I was just looking that up to see what that is. It says that that they can accelerate. What is it? That was pretty amazing. I just found that because your stats are exciting me. That you found in there that they can accelerate, because there's obviously much more powerful than a street car, right? Yeah.
Yes.
And just like how quickly they can accelerate is just amazing, right?
Well, we see them come off the line right at the start of a race, like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They are insane how quick they are. Like,
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
absolutely incredible. Okay, well, while you look at that, I'm going to talk about oversteering and understeering. So again, this is something I think you hear a lot during, even practices, qualies, the races. And it's one thing I have to say, I always get confused, oversteer versus understeer. And then I found this awesome quote by this guy, and we'll try to say his name properly. He's a rally driver, Walter Rural.
Roll.
It's German.
I'm learning German. I should be able to say it, but I'm still struggling.
Yeah, it's a little tricky. But anyways, he said, if you see the barrier that you're actually crashed into, that's an understeer. And if you hear yourself hitting the barrier, it's an oversteer. Because obviously, if you're hearing it, it's the back end of your car is going into the wall or into whatever. And so that's an oversteer. So when you're on a corner and you oversteer, it's the rear wheels of the car losing grip. So it causes the back end to kind of like, sometimes you'll hear them say snap or twitch or whatever, but it just causes the back end to, and then sometimes you go spinning, sometimes you're just hitting the back. But again, that's oversteer because your back end of the car has hit it. You're not actually seeing it. So on the other hand, when the front wheels lose grip, it sees the car go at more of a shallow angle than the driver's like asking the steering to go. Like, so it's just a little bit more shallow. So that is an understeer. See, I still have to stop and think about it. But I think that little phrase, if you remember that, if you're seeing the barrier and as you're crashing into it, that is an understeer. And if it's the back end, you're hearing it, that's an oversteer. So that is generally happening in a corner. So hopefully that will help us a little bit as we move forward through the rest of the 20 races.
I like that quote. That's very helpful because it is confusing with that oversteer and understeer.
Yeah.
I'll definitely include that on the site because that's going to have to refer back to. I'm going to have to refer back to it a couple of times so it really sticks.
Yeah. No, I think when I found that just last week, because I've tried, and I know in past podcasts, I'm like, it's an oversteer, it's an understeer. I don't remember because I get confused by it. Like, but this like has already stuck with me. Okay. So you see it, it's an understeer. If you hear it, it's an oversteer. So hopefully you all can take that. And as you're watching the next F1 race and you see somebody like their back end is going and they hit the wall from the back, it's an oversteer, and you can impress your friends with your party F1 knowledge.
Yeah. All right. Our last one is undercut.
An undercut. So I don't know that we've had too many of these, or if they've attempted too many of these this year, but it's when a driver is having a hard time getting past another car. So their team pits them early. So it's earlier than you would normally. Maybe your original strategy was to pit, say, at lap 20, but your driver's having a hard time getting past the car in front of them. So you're like, okay, come on in on lap 15. We're going to get some fresh tires on you. And then hopefully that's going to put you ahead of whoever it is you've been trying to get past, because they're still needing to pit. So you come out of the pits a little bit faster because you've got fresh tires and they still have to pit. So that should put you ahead of them in the race, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now I might, for the people watching, I might have completely froze up on my screen. Apologies on that. All my screens just went completely black for about 5 seconds there. So, but I can hear everything.
Saw you, but it went dark for a second. I mean, not totally dark, but your screens behind you went dark.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but
yeah. So, but anyways, yeah, that's an undercut is you're not getting past the person in front of you. So again, that goes back to the strategy. There's so many different things that come into play in Formula One with strategy, and you're sometimes, again, they might come into a race with a specific strategy in mind, but it's not playing out the way they thought it would, or the way maybe they thought the tires would go, or what they did in their simulators, and they're, you know what, we're going to have to make a change on the fly. We're going to do an undercut, and hopefully that's going to get you a little bit further up the grid. So
I just want to talk about the power real quick, and let's move on to the other
Yeah.
stuff. So, because I thought this was interesting, it might be this website that's messing me up, but and then I'm gonna get off of it. So the current 2023 design can produce around 1,050 what's called brake horsepower.
Okay.
And it's considered a 1.6 liter V6 turbocharged engine, which is sufficient to reach speeds well in excess of 225 miles per hour, which is about 360 kilometers per hour. Because of the changes to the 2022 rules, engine development, it's halted until the 2026 season. What I thought was really interesting, though, is just looking at a quick chart. It is not the most powerful car, because it looks like back in 1980, if I'm reading this graph, it's a video, so I'm going to go into it, but previously it looks like in 1980, the horsepower was 1,400.
Oh, interesting. And what is this one? 1,000?
It's 1,050, right around 1,050.
Interesting. But
1,000,
it would be kind of interesting to see what exactly, because obviously these engines, well, they're not engines, these power units they don't have like that traditional engine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was 1980 that it dropped drastically in 1990, then went up to 2000 and 2010, and now we're at 2020 back up to 1050, and so it's kind of leveled out until 2026, it says. But like in 1960, it was at 400. It was at 175. 1970, it was 450, and then 1980, it shot up to 1,400.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to do an episode one time just on that, about the evolution.
Yeah, little history lesson on the engines.
Yeah, kind of cool.
I think that is kind of cool, because I'm not a big engine person. Like, I'll talk about everything else, but it is a big part of the sport, so I probably should. So
it's kind of fascinating. It'd be interesting to kind of go through that, just because of my grandfather being a mechanic all his life.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah.
So
all right,
beyond
let's
the
get
grid.
into Beyond the Grid. Some interesting stuff. Oh, I saw this. I just could not believe the audacity. I know we posted about it on our social media about Charles having to ask fans not to come to his home. Come on, people. Okay, look, I don't want to be controversial here. We try to be fair and balanced, whatnot, but I'm just going to say it flat out. If any of our fans, if you have the audacity to show up at F1 driver's home, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You don't go to a stranger's house.
No.
Unannounced, uninvited. And this is somebody who is popular and whatnot. Yes, it's so cool to see someone famous, but they have their privacy. I mean, everyone has boundaries, and you would not want millions of people showing up at your house.
Right. And who knows if these people are knocking on his door or ringing his bell or whatever at 2 a.m, could be 7 a.m. and he's been up or just came back from wherever. And I think what's so disappointing, Monaco is not a big place. Like,
no,
I don't know where he lives there, but like, it's not a big place. And according to a lot of people, he is very generous with his time. If he sees you on the street, he'll take a picture, he'll whatever. Why in the world do you need to go to his house? And I just think, like, how bad must it have been that he had to literally put out a huge statement in 3 different languages, I think, if I'm not, incorrect, asking nicely that you not come to his house. And he, I'm not going to come downstairs. Please do not ring the bell. Which the bell kind of made me think, like, does he live in like an apartment? Like,
probably. I mean, a lot of stuff in Europe
neighbors.
is like my place, where your name is on the thing and you push the button and you have to. But like, it's ridiculous. It's like, be respectful. I just can't imagine doing that. I mean, well, I can, because like my own mother wanted to jump out of the car and go talk to Archie Manning's wife, who was on the street taking her garbage in when we rode past their place in New Orleans, and I had to fight her that we weren't stopping. Like these people are their lives, man. You don't like
Right.
they have lives. They have time and a
Exactly.
place to meet them. Leave them alone. We drove by the house, saw their house. That's great, but just because they're there, you're not going to
Yeah.
stop and say hi.
No, you don't have to. And I just think I guess I'm just trying to figure out what are people thinking? Like, do they think if they're ringing his doorbell or, posting up on his sidewalk that he's going to be thrilled to see them? I'd be a little scared. Like, you don't know who these people are. There's a lot of
And would you want
strange.
people to do that to you? Hundreds and
No,
thousands and millions of people to do that to you? It's like,
no. It
I
should be
just,
your sanctuary. They travel so much. They're doing so many different things, and it should be your sanctuary where you can go and just be yourself and like let loose, right? Not worry about, oh, I need to take my trash out, or there are going to be people out there, with cameras or what have you, wanting pictures, wanting autographs. I just want to
I'm
sit
just,
down and watch a movie without somebody ringing my bell.
I'm blown away. Like I want to go to Monaco
Yeah.
again, and to think that I could run into him in the street is pretty cool. But I would even be timid to go up and say hi because I don't want to bother him in his daily life.
No.
To know that he's open to that, be like, hi,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. I mean, come on, we had football stars that came in your store,
Yeah.
and I was excited about that. But and
And
they were in my son's dance studio, and I
yeah.
still was like, and the one
Yeah.
guy's now my friend, and he would give me like, hey, yeah, like, but
Yeah.
still. I still like we had them all around, but I wouldn't like run up to them and like bother them because
No,
they're
of course not.
having their daily life. They're their
Right.
daily life.
We had NFL players. We had players from, the world who had won the World Series. Like you treat them like everybody else. That's all they want to be treated like. I mean,
Just doing their
have I
job.
fangirled from time to time? Not in that kind of a situation, but I still try to, hold it back. But I would never approach somebody in a restaurant while they're eating. I wouldn't do it if they're with their family.
Oh,
If it's
and
a right
definitely not
situation,
show up at their house.
never, never. I
Oh,
wouldn't even want to drive by your house. Like I no. Like
it's
I
ridiculous.
don't. So I'm hoping that people saw that and took that. There was actually a tour company that was on their
Oh
list,
my
was like
gosh.
Carol Leclerc's house, and I thought, oh, I hope that they decided to do the right thing and take that off. But I hope that fans who's ever doing it realize like this is not cool. And no, especially I don't know. Yeah, he's not gonna be thrilled that you knocked on his door. So let's stop. And I
Oh,
hope
that's
that's not happening
crazy.
to the other drivers. I just think that's terrible. And I get with the popularity of the sport like increasing. I get it. The drivers, people are in love with them. There's so many, girls on TikTok and, posting cute little videos of their crush, but you're
Oh,
not going to win
we could
that
rant
way.
for this forever, but
I
we're gonna
know.
make it another
So
long episode. Well, let's just move on. But yeah, all
we'll
right.
treat it like it.
Access documentary.
Oh, Max's documentary. Okay, I literally meant to go watch some of these, but there were some little clips that have been showing up online, and overall, it makes me sad for him.
I
So,
haven't seen any of
in
this. I don't have to go. I'm gonna
okay,
have to go
so
catch up.
we're gonna have to spend some time on YouTube, but there was one scene where they were all eating food, foodie. I think he has his salad and he's like, when I'm done driving, like I'm gonna have that burger and like nobody can stop me. And his dad was kind of joking and maybe made a joke about, how now that he's done racing, he could eat that way. But I just felt like that's so sad. But then he tells the story about when he was karting and he lost a race and he did something wrong and allowed somebody else to win. And they're leaving and his dad just takes the cart from him. And Max is they're in the car and he's trying to talk to his dad, like just trying to get a conversation going. And his dad pulls over at a gas station, tells him to get out. He doesn't want to talk to him. Max gets out and his dad leaves.
Oh
Left him
my
at a gas station.
goodness.
And I guess his mom was not too far behind, so she pulled over and picked him up. But all I kept thinking on the stuff that I've seen so far is like, poor Max. Like, what in the world? I mean, I know there's a lot of people, like when you talk about Tiger Woods' dad, and there's, a whole bunch of like famous dads, Serena her dad, there's that some sort of like that toughness, or I don't know what it is. I just think it's so wrong because they're children. They're
They're
children.
children.
And
And we,
he knew in his heart he did something wrong and he felt bad. And at that moment, as a kid, you just want your parents to hug you. You just want them to say, like, it's cool. Like, let's talk about what happened so we know next time what not to do. And instead, it's like getting left at a gas station. I don't know. I felt so bad for him. And that's all I kept thinking every time I saw these clips is poor Max. Like, poor Max. Now, did it make him a champion? I guess, people could argue and say, yes, it's, made him tough and all that. But
he's also a jerk. So
yeah. But I think like when you hear now, like Tiger Woods tell his story, or, some other athletes tell their stories, like there's a lot to reconcile in that relationship, that parent athlete
they're
relationship.
growing up in a time too where mental health is still such a stigma. I mean, it still is, but even worse, previous years. So it's this whole like rub some dirt on it, and feelings aren't important, and not understanding the dynamics of nurturing a child and their development and whatnot is just, it's ridiculous.
There's things more important than winning, and I think family is one of them. And when there's that weird dynamic, like athlete, coach, parent, son, like it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to find a place in the US that we can watch the whole thing. So if anybody knows, send us a DM and let us know where we can watch the entire thing. But then also Yuki came out with something called Yuki Tube. And so it's on YouTube. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but I absolutely adore Yuki. And so I am going to subscribe to that YouTube channel and just see what's going on in his life. He cracks me up. I think he's so fun between his style, he's a foodie. Like, I love all of it. So I'm 100% down to watch Yuki Tube.
We'll have to take a look at that.
I can't wait. We'll report back next week on that one.
Absolutely. Christian Horner, week in the life of a principal.
Yes.
Man, I'm behind. Being out sick for a week just really,
Well,
I'm behind. I got so much to catch up on.
You do, but I also spent a lot of time in airports because my planes were delayed both ways. So it's a very quick 10-minute video that Red Bull put out, and it was like the week heading into Melbourne. So it was just kind of interesting to see it's just little clips, right? Little clips, like he was talking about how he's the last person to get there on Thursday. So that way, if anybody needs anything or needs something from the office, he brings it with him. He talks about his role as a CEO for Red Bull. And then on race weekends, how he's the team principal. So just a whole lot of little things. And then afterwards, what I thought was interesting. So it must've been Monday or Tuesday after the race, everybody, it looks like all the employees gather and he's on a stage and he kind of runs them through what happened at the race, just, high level. And, they all had champagne at the end. And I thought that's so cool. So it was just a little peek. If you're curious what a week in the life of a principal looks like, go check that out. I think it's on their YouTube, but I got to it through their Instagram page. So yeah.
And are people copying us? Well, we're setting a good precedent. And it's been interesting to see. It's been some interesting coincidences out there. I mean, you don't even have it on there about the use of chaos down under, but yeah.
Oh, I did it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So all the ways that we think, all the ways I think that I shouldn't speak for both of us, but the ways I notice that I think people are copying us. So the McLaren video, that's what Claire's talking about. So we posted our podcast on very, very early Tuesday morning.
17 hours before.
17
hours.
And
we recorded it 2 days prior. That one we'd actually recorded 2 days prior.
We recorded it 2 days prior. We always have the description and the title at least the day before it's actually posted. So 17 hours later, McLaren, we titled ours Chaos Down Under. I mean, it's not like super, super like original, but Chaos Down Under. And then 17 hours later, McLaren puts out a YouTube video, mostly about Oscar Piastri, called Chaos Down Under. And I was like, what? That copying us. Okay. Then I posted a picture. I snapped a photo from F1 TV during the Melbourne race because I thought it was really hysterical that you had Toto Wolff and then Papa Stroll right next to each other. And it just was a funny pic. So I grabbed my phone really quick and I snapped a photo and I put it up on this F1 fan site on Facebook. And, you know, people had posted a couple different things about, like, I said, this is me, my face, because Toto has kind of a funny look on his face. And I said, that's my face when somebody hops on the treadmill right next to me at the gym when all the other treadmills are open. And I see somebody took that photo. Like, do not tell me that you happened to take the same exact photo off of F1 TV at the exact same time.
And same angle.
Same angle, same everything. And theirs was when somebody sits next to you on the bus. And I just thought, you totally swiped that. Totally swiped it. And it was like, I just posted it for fun in this fan page and it had, I don't even know, a couple hundred likes. There had over, when I looked, like 1,500. like, because they have a much bigger audience. I'm like, So then what else? F1
tutorial tires.
Yep, F1 posted a tutorial on tires, which we had done a couple weeks ago. So they had a whole thing on tires all of a sudden. McLaren talked about curfews. They went into, had a little video or a little something about curfews. And we had mentioned that. Was it Australia? No, it was a race before that.
Yeah, it was a race before that.
Abu Dhabi, I think.
Yep.
I was like, what is that all about? And then, and then on Thursday, just this past Thursday, Williams posted a link to an F1 glossary. And we had talked about our F1.
We'd started the thing.
Yep.
Well, you know, we're setting a precedent.
We are setting a precedent. So here's my thing. It's like, I'm like tongue in cheek saying, like, people are copying us. At the same time, I just feel validated. Like, we are definitely on the right track with our content because we do it. And then a team or F1 comes out with it. So there you go.
And it's indicative. We were going to do it at the beginning. Let's not finish. Forget it. We said we were going to read out 5-star reviews. So you had a 5-star review to read.
Oh, I do. Let me go find it.
And it's indicative of that, right? Because we are getting 5-star reviews. So if anyone, while you're pulling that up, if you give us a 5-star review on any of the platforms, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google, like all the podcasting, as well as Acast, where we're hosted. Any kind of 5-star reviews, we'll read your review on one of our podcasts as a thank you. And as we get more followers, and we're going to start selling some merch, we're going to start giving away random stuff as well. So going to read our first one.
Yes, so exciting. So the name, I guess people make up their own name. So it's JK Big XG, and it's 5-star. It says, absolutely spectacular. This podcast is exactly what I was looking for. These ladies have a wonderful rapport and work together like a dream. As a female F1 fan, I appreciate the concept of intelligent discussion for all who want to participate without any bias. This one is a winner. So thank you so much for that. And that was early on too. That was one of the very first ones that we got. But there's
I hope we have a good rapport because, you know, we've known each other we've discovered over half our lives now.
More than half our lives, which, you know, it does give us a good back and forth. And you know, we have strengths in different areas, I think, and yet we like meld together perfectly. So as Claire said, please, you know, give ratings, give reviews. We appreciate it. We've still
feedback, suggestions. We want to get better. You know, we're new at F1. I'm super new. We're new at podcasting. We just want to make a go at this. It's also a fun way for us to stay connected, being a world apart.
Yes.
Best friends. So this is really cool. All right, well, let's wrap up on what we have left to do because we once again hit an hour.
Oh my gosh, we just chitty chat, which is good. I like it. So still no race this coming weekend. I'm over it. I like darn China for like we had to cancel that race because we would have had that race here. It was not scheduled to be a 3-week break. That usually we just get that in the summer, but we had to cancel. And when I say we, it's because I'm part of F1. So
Yeah.
we had to cancel that race. We've got a little bit more time, but that's okay because next week we're going to do a deep dive on Mercedes.
This will be our first team spotlight. We're going to do Mercedes. So send us any direct message on Instagram or Facebook, or even you can send it as a question through, I think it's iHeart or Spotify that allows you to submit questions. I'll open it up on this podcast when we post it. Any questions you want to have about Mercedes? We're going to do some high level stuff, team history, and just anything we can cover. It's going to be a pretty standard about all the teams. We'll cover them throughout the season. We'd love to get some fan questions, and that's our first one we pulled out of the hat to cover.
Absolutely. Yes,
Looking
I'm
forward to
excited.
it.
All right. That's it. So we'll be back
Another
next
great
week.
one, right at an hour. So we're wrapping up.
Hey.
Thanks for going on the ride for us this week.
Thank you. See y'all later.
Take care.
If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and a review. To stay up to date with She Loves the Grid and get all the behind the scenes content, you can follow us on Instagram at She Loves the Grid and on Facebook at facebook.com/She Loves the Grid. Thank you for joining us for the ride this week.